Hello and welcome everyone. This is Cavalier, and today I'm going to be doing something actually completely different from what I normally do. Normally I'm doing history as well as gaming. However, I do have another hobby, and that is Warhammer. I love Warhammer. I'm relatively new to the hobby, I will admit. In fact, I'm still attempting to paint up my first 2,000 point army, trying to work down my pile of shame. But I figured, you know what? Let's throw up a tier list, um, because that's totally relevant still, of the various Warhammer factions, or at least the factions that actually have codexes and therefore are actually kind of important. Sorry, Harlequin fans. Um, Also, we got Deathwatch here still because I think this is an older tier list, and Deathwatch has been rolled into Imperial Agents, but I will rank them as separate. But yeah, this is gonna be just a more casual, funner video talking about all of these factions and more importantly, where I would rank them in comparison with each other. As well as if you are relatively new to Warhammer 40k, I will be giving a brief summary on each one of these factions to kind of help give newer people kind of a reference point to these factions. And a lot of them are going to be a lot more complicated than I give them credit for. But that being said, let's start off with this very first one, Thousand Suns. So Thousand Suns, they are a traitor Space Marine Legion. Their Primarch is Magnus, and they worship Tzeentch, which is the Chaos God of Change. They're a very psyker-heavy legion. They also have a bunch of demons. They have a more Egyptian vibe to them. But I think all Thousand Sun fans need to realize one simple fact, and that is Magnus did everything wrong. And they worship Tzeentch, and Tzeentch just sucks as a chaos god. So F tier. We're starting off with a great thing, putting Thousand Suns in F tier. I genuinely don't like Thousand Suns. I think they're my least favorite faction in this entire game. But we got a much better faction, Adeptus Mechanicus. The robot boys who keep cutting off their own flesh to replace it with mechanical parts because they hate flesh, and they worship a machine god, and they are in charge of basically all of the Imperium's tech. So like every single Imperial army, except for maybe Custodians, I guess. Basically, they rely on the Adeptus Mechanicus to keep their guns and tanks working. They have a really cool aesthetic. I really enjoy the Adeptus Mechanicus, so I'm going to probably put them in A tier. Yeah, A tier. To kind of explain the tiers, F is obviously I hate it. S is these are fantastic. I also order my tier list because it does annoy me when people don't order their tier list. So something closer to this side is it could jump up it will okay. So if it's closer to this side, the closer I think it is to S. So for example, right now with the Adeptus Mechanicus, I think it's very close to being an S more than a B. However, we'll fill out this tier, and stuff closer to here I think is closer to being an S. Stuff like over here is going to be closer to a B, just to help keep it organized. Next, we got Eldar. Eldar, the elves, the our first Xenos faction. They're a dying race in Warhammer 40k. Their time is kind of past. This is specifically the craft worlds. They basically are a bunch of elves who don't realize that their empire is dead and that they should probably try to focus on not dying themselves. But that being said, they are an A tier faction. Although I think Mechanicus are better than them. I just prefer Mechanicus aesthetics. If the Eldar didn't have those stupid helmets, they'd be a lot higher. But because they have those stupid egg-shaped helmets, no, well, not really egg-shaped, but like their pointed helmets are so fucking stupid. So Imperial Agents, a relatively new faction, or at least a new mainstream faction. They kind of existed for a while. These guys basically represent the Inquisition. As a whole, because I'm ranking these as separate from Death Watch, which makes them slightly weirder. I'm gonna put them in B. They're okay, but they're with them folding in Death Watch. They kind of now finally have an army rather than being a collection of a bunch of kill team lists. And to be fair, they're still a collection of kill teams, so they're kind of a weirder faction. I overall like the Inquisition. They're kind of weird on the tabletop, to be honest. Black Templars, the Crusaders of the Space Marines. They love crusading. They love purging heretics. They love killing Xenos. And even their name comes from the Black Templars. Everything about them. Although I think their symbol's wrong. I think their symbol is actually a different Crusader faction from actual real life history. But Black Templars they're kind of okay. One of these tier lists is one of these tiers are just gonna become the Space Marine tier list. Well, the Space Marine tier, because I'm gonna be honest, all Space Marines are the exact fucking same. I'm gonna put Black Templars probably in C. I think there's better factions than them. I'm not the biggest fan of Space Marines, and to kind of explain Space Marines, they're super soldiers created by God. They fight for humanity, although they do oftentimes kill regular human beings without any hesitation whatsoever. But, yeah, Black Templars I think are one of the better ones. Oh boy, this... Blood Angels. This is the one that's going to get me in trouble. Blood Angels fans really love Blood Angels. Now my question here is, how much do I like Lord Commander Dante? Because that's going to be the only reason why Blood Angels are put high. Well, would be at all high. I don't like Blood Angels as a whole. Do I think they're a D? Now I'm going to put them in C. But they're below Black Templars. Just, my biggest problem with Blood Angels is that they are vampires. They are vampire Space Marines. And with that, yeah, sure, the two genetic flaws of them, the fact that they need to drink blood and the fact that they go into a rage killing Horus. Actually, now that I think about it, Death Company does exist. And Death Company is really cool. Well, actually not that cool. Yeah, I'm going to keep them at C. But basically they could go into a black rage, but that's what it's called, but they basically just start killing everyone around them because they think that they're the enemy. Well, specifically they think that they're Horus. And they love drinking blood. But beyond that, they are literally just Space Marine vampires. And this is my personal problem with a lot of Space Marine chapters. They have a shtick, and then they don't ever really change from that shtick. Like Black Templars, every single one of them is a Crusader. Blood Angels, every single one of them is a vampire. Okay? Even a lot of their successors are that. And to be honest, I think the successors of the Blood Angels are more interesting than the actual Blood Angels themselves. But we're not ranking their successor chapters. Chaos Knights. Now this is a GOAT faction. This faction rocks. I don't think it's 8. I don't think it's S tier. Is it S tier? It's either high A, low S. You know what? It's S tier. It's great. It's a great faction. So if you don't know, Knights in Warhammer 40k are big fucking robots. They literally are gigantic robots with massive cannons and oftentimes chain swords that are way too big, but they are fucking awesome. And Chaos Knights are the spiky versions of them, and they are really fucking cool. Yeah, Chaos Knights are great. CSM, Chaos Space Marines. So, Space Marines, but instead of fighting for the Imperium, they fight for one of the Chaos Gods. Very similar to Thousand Suns, but infinitely better in every single way. Because partly because they have the Night Lords trilogy, and the Night Lords trilogy, lore-wise, is really fucking good. I'm gonna put them at B. I don't think they're A. I overall think there's better enemies than Chaos Space Marines, but Chaos Space Marines are really cool. Um, the artwork on this is a really small piece of this artwork, but this artwork is so good. It's so good. But yeah, I overall like Chaos Space Marines. They're just not really my thing. Custodians. Adeptus Custodes, or as I like to call them, better Space Marines. Yes, I know they're not Space Marines. They are a different aspect. Custodes. Custodes. I think they're above Eldar. They are they are Space Marines, but taller, bigger, stronger, faster, and they are the specific bodyguards of the Emperor himself. Really cool faction. I actually really like them. Although admittedly their models are a little bit older, because I think they're only as big as the Primaris now, I think. So they're a little short. But overall, Custodians are great. As well as the Sisters of Silence. They're also a great little sub-faction within Custodians. But with that, let's move on to the next one. Demons. Chaos Demons. This is the most... Man, this faction is not for me. Faction. I'm going to put them in C. Actually, no, they're not that. There's a later faction that is just... I think is good, but it's not for me. But Demons is another faction where I'm like... Man, I have no interest in you whatsoever. Although I do want this roster to be better expanded out. I genuinely want it to be where you could have multiple armies of Khorne, multiple armies of Slaanesh, multiple armies of Nurgle, and multiple armies of Tzeentch, and as well as have Chaos Undivided. Yeah, this is a faction that is almost constantly being threatened to be deleted by James Workshop. I'm going to edit that little bit out. Because I said the actual name of them. But I think they're actually a really cool faction. They're just not for me. Dark Angels. Dark Angels, Dark Angels, Dark Angels. Man, Dark Angels, you are a weird one in my opinion, because I love the aesthetic of Dark Angels. Dark Angels, in my opinion, are the best looking Space Marines, bar none. Okay? I love how they look. I love their robes. I love their colors. I love just about everything about them. I love the fact that they're plasma heavy, and plasma is just great, but their lore sucks in my opinion. They're kind of like the knights, as well as being basically the secret police of the Imperium. Yeah, it's... Well, their lore doesn't suck. It's just I don't particularly like their lore. I wish they leaned more into the knightly order. But, they look cool. I think they're the best looking Space Marines, so I'm going to put them at C. But yeah, Death Guard. Now, Death Guard. Death Guard. Are they better than Chaos Space Marines? Ooh. These are a form of Chaos Space Marines. They specifically worship Nurgle, the god of decay. And unlike Thousand Suns, Nurgle actually does shit. Well, Nurgle actually does shit, unlike Tzeentch. But I like Nurgle. Nurgle's great. But with that, are they better than CSM? Normal CSM. I think they're better than the Inquisition. How to get an Imperial kill team right outside of your house. 101 says that something's better than the Inquisition. But yeah, I'm actually going to put Death Guard above CSM. You know what? Yeah, B. High B for Death Guard. I I have never seen models that are specifically designed to be disgusting and ugly and yet look so beautiful at the exact same time. I love Death Guard models. Like they encapsulate the exact feeling you want out of that faction, and it is so good. Like their models are they look so good. And also Death Guard players, I feel so bad for you because I see all the nooks and crannies and how none of the models look the same. And I feel so bad for you, the fact that you have to paint all that, but I love Death Guard paint jobs. They're so good. Next up, Death Watch. Death Watch, the faction that recently got deleted and folded into Imperial Agents. Death Watch is basically volunteer Space Marines who take on Xenos. Basically, they could come from any Space Marine chapter as long as they're loyalist. And they form special strike teams in order to fight whoever the Inquisition tells them to, basically. More often than not, it's Xenos. But Death Watch, I'm going to say they're above Imperial Agents. I think they're at the exact same tier as Imperial Agents, which is the faction that Death Watch got folded into. Yeah, I'm not... I think you could tell already, I'm not the biggest fan of Loyalist Space Marine chapters because, to be honest, I think most of them are kind of boring. Next up, and before anyone says anything, yes, I know Death Watch is not a chapter. It is volunteer Space Marines from various chapters. Drukhari. Drukhari's next up, and Drukhari, this is the placement I'm going to feel the most bad about. Because they're a D tier in my opinion, but they're not a D tier because I think they suck. Not like Thousand Suns. They're a D tier because they are the faction that, under no circumstance, was ever made for me. They're Dark Elves who like pirating and raiding and enslaving people. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a big fan of Dark Elves as a whole. Like, as an archetype, I'm not a huge fan of Dark Elves. I mean, their pirate theme is kind of cool, but I think there's another faction that does the pirate theme a lot better than Drukhari. But I think their models actually look kind of cool. It's just I have no desire to ever own any Drukhari models. Although I do feel bad for Drukhari players because I know you guys live off of kit bashes and 3D printing in order to make sure you actually have an army. Because some of your data sheets, I'm pretty sure, don't even have models. So, yeah, good luck with that. Gene Stealers. Gene Stealer cultists. They are I'm not exactly actually sure on the lore behind this, because I know they're related to the Tyranids, which are down here. Well, we'll talk about them later. But these guys basically are, as far as I could tell, kind of like the vanguard for Tyranids. They are a cult that basically grows in imperial settlements and imperial worlds. And slowly over generations, they slowly turn imperial citizens into like these hybrids that eventually will rise up and overthrow the government of that planet, and eventually will be ascended into the Tyranids. So they have a very rebel feel. I actually quite like Gene Stealers. Gene Stealers are actually kind of cool in my opinion. Are they A? Are they A or B? They're not one of my favorite factions. I'm going to put them between Death Guard and CSM. Yeah. I think Death Guard is a better faction than Gene Stealers. But, yeah. Gene Stealers are still a very cool faction. I really like them. Grey Knights. I'm pretty sure I made this joke before with the Custodians, but Grey Knights are Space Marines, but better. They also are Thousand Suns, but better. They are another Psychic Legion, like Thousand Suns, but these are Demon Hunters. They are Demon Killers. They also are very secretive. And overall, I think they're a really cool model. I really enjoy their helmets. I think their helmets are genuinely really cool. I love the fact that they're a Terminator heavy faction. I love heavier armor for Space Marines. So where do Grey Knights go? I think I like them more than Custodians. Yeah, below AdMech, but above Custodians. I really like Grey Knights. They need an update soon. Imperial Knights. Imperial Knights are exactly like Chaos Knights. But I actually think I prefer Imperial Knights to Chaos Knights because I prefer just the cleaner look. But yeah, Imperial Knights, it's a big fucking robot. I don't think I don't think I could properly sell Imperial Knights more than I just by saying it's a giant robot. Giant robots are just cool. Oh boy, I just saw what's next. Oh, the Guard, the Imperial Guard, or the Astra Militarum, the true defenders of humanity. As you can tell, I'm a Guard player. I have 2,000 points of Guard sitting on my dresser right next to me. That's still need to be painted. But, oh, Guard. They're S tier. They're actually my favorite faction in this entire game. The reason why I love the Imperial Guard is they're the regular army. They are the boots on the ground, standard infantrymen with tanks, artillery, and given the cheapest, most disposable equipment. And it's because of that it makes them going up against every other faction so great because they are always the underdogs. Like every other faction can beat them. So when the Imperial Guard wins, it's great. And if they lose, well, then you can actually give another faction here their own due credit. And overall, Imperial Guard, I love the Imperial Guard. I love tanks and the Chimeras. Lehman Russ's Lehman Russ's Chimeras are some of my favorite units in this entire game. And I just love the fact that you're just playing as the underdogs. You're playing as the guys just holding the line. They're so cool. I love the Imperial Guard. Next up, Necrons. We are going really strong right now. Necrons. Necrons are, in my opinion, the second best Xenos faction. They are up here in S tier. Necrons are... They're kind of styled after Egyptians, but basically they are an ancient civilization that is already dead, but they're living on as robots because their king, the Silent King, made a mistake because he decided to trust a guy named the Deceiver to not deceive him and trap his entire race into robots. Which I will admit is a massive L for the Necrons. But what the Necrons fail with that one mistake, they make up for it in almost every single other aspect. In my opinion, they have the best characters in this entire setting. You got Trazyn the Infinite, who's probably my favorite character. You got the Silent King, who, despite being an idiot when he trusted the Deceiver for no real good reason. Although admittedly he did that because they were losing and he desperately needed anything to win. Then you got Orkin. You got the how was he? The Alzheimer Necron. The Necron that has memory issues. He's also great. Yeah, Necrons I just love. They arguably are the most human faction, which is weird because they're, robots who don't feel anything. But yeah, Necrons are a very good faction. They're based off of Egyptian culture, which, Thousand Suns, take a note. That's how you do Egyptian culture better. This is why I hate Thousand Suns. Because, guess what? You want Psychers? Go Grey Knights, because Grey Knights are cooler. You want an Egyptian vibe? Necrons. Necrons are cooler. You want to go for a CSM style army? Again, you have better options. But yeah, Necrons are great. They're actually they're my second favorite Xenos faction. And my first favorite Xenos faction are the Orcs. The orcs are, in my opinion, they should be the poster boys of Warhammer 40k. If you want to explain 40k to someone, or you want someone to get into 40k, you just tell them orc lore. That's all you gotta do. And I'm gonna be honest, most orc lore is just memes. They actually have no bearing on anything in the lore. They're just memes, like the purple orc meme, where they paint their the stuff that they want to hide. They paint purple because have you ever seen a purple orc? Of course you have never seen a purple orc. Therefore, if you paint an orc purple, you can't see him because you've never seen the purple orc. It's so fucking stupid. They are so fucking stupid. But that's what makes them so fucking great. Like, they paint on control panels and then they control their vehicles just by doing that. They build an IED out of a rubber ducky with some vague wires around it. And, like, that's their weapons. Orcs are fantastic. I also really like orcs because, realistically, if they ever united, they would just single-handedly win. They would just beat everyone because no one could beat the orcs. You also got the squigs, part of the orc army, which is fantastic. And also, Drakari. I mentioned earlier there's another faction that does the pirate theme a lot better. You cannot tell me the freebooters of the orcs are not great pirates. They are fantastic pirates. They're hilarious, and I love them. Basically, this is a faction that is based entirely off of their imagination. That's where all their power comes from. Just the power of imagination. And they are wonderful, and they perfectly encapsulate what Warhammer 40k is. And another faction that encapsulates what Warhammer 40k is the Adeptus Sororitas, or the Sisters of Battle. They're actually my second favorite army. I started collecting them before I finished my guard army, which was a massive mistake. Don't ever do that. But the Adeptus Sororitas, they're nuns with guns. That's their whole shtick. And they are loyal to the Emperor. They pray to the Emperor. And the fact that GW had the balls to make an all-female faction and then make that faction arguably the third most evil faction in the entirety of Warhammer 40k was such a brilliant move. I love the Sisters of Battle. They are such a cool faction. The fact that they are religious fanatics who are so fanatical in their belief that they just will kill anyone who they see as a heretic or a mutant. I love the Sisters of Battle. I also think that overall they have the best aesthetic, in my opinion, out of everyone here. I love the religious zealotous theme that they have going. And, that Sisters of Battle are just cool. They also have by far the best looking model, the Triumph of St. Catherine. Triumph of St. Catherine just looks fantastic. Now we need to go on to Space Marines, the actual poster boys of the Warhammer 40k universe. This will include Ultramarines, Salamanders, and all the other ones, including Raven Guard and White Scars. Those guys, Imperial Fists, and a few others I'm probably forgetting. Oh, Iron Hands. Fuck Iron Hands. But yeah, Space Marines they're a weird faction because they are encompassing a lot of, so like, for example, let me put this here. They're not going to be there, but like Dark Angels, Black Templars, and Blood Angels are all just covering one singular chapter. Space Marines is covering basically everyone else except for Space Wolves. So I do hate how GW did that, where they split these chapters off. They didn't need to be split off, in my opinion. But yeah, Space Marines as a whole, I'm gonna put them in B tier. Yeah, B tier, low B tier. Because again, I think they're better than Dark Angels, Black Templars, and Blood Angels. But again, it's a it's of extremes. Like, for example, if I was rating just the Iron Hands, they'd probably be like here at the bottom. Ultramarines would be like here. Salamanders would be like here. And all the other ones would change as time goes on. So yeah. Space Marines, low B. Poster boys of Warhammer 40k. They're super soldiers created by God. Well, by the God Emperor. They're alright, in my opinion. I'm not the biggest fan of them, but I like them more than the successor chapters, in my opinion. Space Wolves. Space Wolves, Space Wolves, Space Wolves. Now the question is, do I want to be seen as a furry? Fuck it. Space Wolves are an A. They're an A because of Bjorn. Bjorn the Fell-Handed, who's one of my favorite characters in the entirety of Warhammer 40k. Murderfang. Both of those guys are dreadnoughts, and they're fantastic. They're kind of, I will admit, they're kind of Mary Sue's when they, during the month of shame, where they went up against the Inquisition and then they didn't immediately get killed. But they, in my opinion, have one of the more interesting Primarchs in Leman Russ. And I overall like the Space Wolves as a whole. And I want to say this right now to the Thousand Suns fans who are saying that I am supporting a war criminal with the Space Wolves. Just remember one thing. Leman Russ only did one thing wrong on Prospero, and that was not finishing the job. Now let's go on to Tau. Now Tau, I actually like Tau. Which I know is going to be a kind of a more controversial thing, as a lot of people don't like Tau, but I like their suits. Probably a B tier faction, in my opinion. I'm going to put them above Genestealer Colts, but below Death Guard. But yeah, Tau, they're kind of like the... They were supposed to be the bona fide good guys, but then GW chickened out because everyone was complaining that Warhammer's a game about war crimes, and thus taking the risk of having one genuinely good faction within that world and how they would react to that. No, that was deemed too radical, so they ended up just made them into a brainwashed mind control race. And in my opinion, it kind of made the Tau, in my opinion, actually kind of worse. I actually would have preferred it if they had the Tau be genuinely good and it was just like the unbreakable Tau spirit where they just get the shit beaten out of them, but they keep getting back up and you have to kind of respect them. But yeah, I like Tau as a whole. They have really cool mech suits. Their tanks suck, and they suck at melee. But yeah, I like the suits. Tyranids. Tyranids are a tier faction. Better than Mechanicus. Yeah, I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say Tyranids are better than Mechanicus. These are the actual threat to the Warhammer 40k universe. It's not Chaos. Chaos is not the biggest threat to the Warhammer 40k universe. They're a threat and they are a problem, but it's actually the Tyranids coming in. And Tyranids are a bunch of bugs who come in and eat things. That's their entire shtick. They come, they eat, they leave. That's what the Tyranids do. And I overall like them. I really like the Tyranids. The idea of the unthinking hive mind. Just charging in, killing shit. I also really love their models. I think their models look great. But yeah. Leagues of Votann. The Dwarves. A relatively new faction that's finally getting a lore book for... Finally. They're like this. I need to double check when they came out, but they've been out for like 3 or 4 years, and they just finally have announced the book for them. So annoying, but I really like the dwarves, and I really like the lore that we can gather from them so far. Now, right now, I would actually say that they are below this. Like, realistically, I should put them at like C because they have like no lore whatsoever. But the dwarf fan in my heart, refuses to let The damn knife ears beat out my dwarves. So yeah, they're going straight above the Eldar. Dwarves are the best fantasy faction. They just are. And when we get the lore book for them, they're going to be great. Leagues of Otana are a great faction. They look cool. They're dwarves. And I like the lore that we have currently of them. Lastly, we got World Eaters. World Eaters, their entire shtick is screaming at you, running at you, and then chopping you up with chain axes. And as such, I fuck with this energy. Yeah, they're an A tier faction in my opinion. Do I like them more than Mechanicus? Ooh, that's a good question. Well, actually, let's actually while we're here, we'll come back to that later. See if I need to organize this better. But let's start off the bottom and actually organize these to get them better. Thousand Suns at the bottom. Perfect. That's exactly where they belong. Drakari. I feel really bad for putting them at the bottom, but they're just not made for me. I think they're a cool army. They're just not made for me. Same thing goes with Chaos Demons. Blood Angels. Do I like Chaos Demons more than Blood Angels? Probably yes. Yeah. I'm going to put Chaos Demons in front of Blood Angels. Although I am going to keep Black Templars above Chaos Demons, I'm going to keep Dark Angels above Black Templars. Yeah, I actually support that little ranking in C. So, in short, Dark Angels are closer to being a B, versus Blood Angels are closer to being a D. Space Marines. Imperial Agents. Ooh. Why did I rank Space Marines so low now that I took a look at it? Yeah, they're better than the Inquisition as a whole. Yeah, if this was just Iron Hands, they'd be fucking down here, right above Blood Angels. But this is also including Ultramarines, which I have to admit, I actually kind of like the Ultramarines now, which makes me kind of depressed saying that. Salamanders are also kind of cool. I like White Scars. But yeah, they're gonna go there. They got the cooler Space Marines right here in Chaos Space Marines. Gene Stealers. I'll give CSM credit. I think they're better than Gene Stealers and Tau. Actually, now that I think about it. Yeah, Tau straight in the middle here. Better than Space Marines, because they are. Gene Stealers above them. CSM above Gene Stealers. And Death Guard at B. Sounds about right. Space Wolves. At the bottom of A, I don't think they're super great. They are limited by the fact that they are Space Marines. And as you can tell, I am not the biggest fan of Space Marines as a whole. By the fact that, yeah, they're pretty lowly rated. But, yeah, I'm going to put Space Wolves as my highest ranked Space Marine chapter. I'm putting them below the Eldar. Eldar, I think, are really interesting as a whole. I will admit I haven't gotten into Eldar lore a lot. I know most of it sucks because it basically is Eldar getting punched in the face constantly over and over again, unfairly. Dwarves above the elves, yep, that is perfectly fine. Custodies over the Leagues of Votann, yep. I can't objectively push the dwarves any higher. To be honest, I'm already ranking them way too high by the fact that they need to beat the elves. But yeah, Custodies here. Grey Knights, yeah, I think Grey Knights are better than Custodians. I think Mechanicus are better than Grey Knights, yeah. World Eaters, ooh, this is the interesting thing. Do I like Admech more, World Eaters more, or Tyranids more? I'm going to put World Eaters at A. I love World Eaters. Yeah, Tyranids there, and then we'll put Admech here. Although, to be honest, that feels too low for Admech, but who would I drop? They're my 9th favorite faction? Yeah, I can see that, them being my 9th favorite. Tyranids, World Eaters. Now we get to the good stuff. Chaos Knights. I like to think these are the doorkeepers for the top tier. Basically, you have to be cooler than a Chaos Knight in order to be in this tier. Imperial Knights, they are Chaos Knights, but a little bit cleaner, a little bit nicer, and I do prefer their aesthetic a bit more. I'm not a huge fan of spikes as a whole. Necrons are fantastic. They are my second favorite Xenos faction. Sounds about right. Orcs are just fantastic. Like, if I'm being totally objective right now, if I was ranking this based off of what are the best overall factions, not taking into consideration my opinion, orcs are here. Orcs are fantastic. But yeah, they encapsulate what Warhammer 40k is. Same thing goes with the Sisters of Battle. They encapsulate the more religious, zealotous side of it. And I love their models. I think Adeptus Sororitas look fantastic. And the good old Imperial Guard, the army, at its proper place as the true defenders of humanity, on top. 95% of the entire Imperium's fighting machine are Guard. Yes, I am that annoying Guards player who shouts fixed bayonets and charge and Cadia stands over and over again at tables. I am that annoying Imperial Guard player. But I'm proud of it. But yeah, this is my little joking video talking about the Warhammer factions as a whole and my proper ranking. If you kind of notice, a lot of them are an A or B. This is because I don't think there's truly any factions that suck outside of Thousand Suns. Even Drukhari, I feel bad putting Drukhari at D. It's just, they're not made for me. Blood Angels, they're okay. Like, I think from B up, like, these factions are really good. These ones, I think they either need more work, or they just don't appeal to me, or they're Special Snowflake Marine, or Thousand Suns. But, yeah. With that, if you enjoyed this video, let me know if you actually want to see more of this down in the comments, because, again, this is a lot more of a departure of what I normally do. But if you enjoyed the video, I appreciate if you liked and subscribed, and have a wonderful day.